All right, new year, new topics, 2026. This is our first recording, January 8th. I know internally we've been talking a lot about the importance of creative and how creative is pretty much leading the charge in terms of delivery, which is no surprise. There's a lot you can do on structure and there's a lot you can do on the back end to make up lifetime value. But creative is going to be the biggest needle mover on improving your acquisition cost and your ability to scale into higher spend thresholds. That's a long intro, but anyway, I think what we want to talk about today is the importance of creative, and Andrew, how you're thinking about creative on some of these higher spend accounts in 2026.
For sure. And it's become, I think, an even more relevant topic in the last 3 months, even 2 months, with the full like rollout of Andromeda and Meta updating things. Creative is the targeting, which is, it hasn't changed. So the first place I go when I think about creative is like, all right, who are we trying to target? Who are we trying to get this message to connect with? And thinking of like creative diversity on kind of two planes, like one, persona diversity, so meaning like the type of person that we're ultimately targeting, and then two, format diversity, right? Is it a video, gift, is it a gif, image, whatever? And not just like the actual file format, but even the like concept, right? So I've been seeing these ads that are like, it's a billboard or it's like a subway ad, a picture of a subway ad with the brand's offer or promo on the subway ad. So it looks like somebody just snapped a photo. You're in a T stop and you snap a photo and you see the brands like Black Friday offer, for instance, over the banner in the train station. Like that to me is that's a concept and you could iterate on that all day long. And you can even do that in different formats. So you can do like a video of that where maybe there's people walking by and it's just that static promo in the background. Stuff like that, super easy to edit, easy to create. There's so much stock footage available online that you can churn out concepts like that. And then there's the persona side where it's like looking at an ad like that and you're thinking through like, all right, what kind of persona would this target, or does this even target a persona? Then you might go and you might say, all right, let's target, dog moms, let's target Ask Gen Z influencers, let's target anything, elderly grandmas, let's target, and then you build your creative strategy around that of each of those personas. And then within those personas, you can do different iterations. So there's kind of two ways that I think about it. But then the biggest thing is like, all right, and this is something we've seen, forever really is like, all right, how do you shore up the feedback loop between the media buying team and the creative team? Um, how do you fix that flow from like creative brief goes to people actually, the makers actually making the ads and the actual performance and the output of that. And I think now more than ever, we're able to shore that gap up because of AI, and also media buyers are being forced to become creative strategists. The media buyers are having to really understand the nuances of the creative that are driving their performance more so now than ever. So it's really important that you build good pipelines, but also like information pipelines that feed that information back to where your creative is coming from. Um, I think a lot of brands, a lot of agencies are trying to figure out how they shore up that pipeline even further and do it at scale. And AI has really helped in a lot of ways to tighten that gap, but then also tighten the time frame that it takes to from ad launch, feedback, iterations to ad relaunch.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most tactical uses of AI in the world of advertising is to run your actively or to take your actively running creatives and run it through a system that breaks it up by hook, body, CTA, get the transcript of it and a snapshot of that piece of the ad because it's not great at dissecting video, but it can take an image really easily. You can send
Hmm.
it to a system along with, this is the key, along with your performance data. So you can say
Hmm.
this ad spent $120,000. It had a $58 CPA. Here's the hook. Here's the body. Here's the hook, the body, and the CTA. And then here's this ad with the spend in performance metrics compared to five other ads that are running in our account. And
Hmm.
now find the similarities based on the performance data of the hook, the body. So it's a story, maybe it's a product comparison, maybe it's something funny, and then the CTA, and compare it between all of the different creatives in the account. And like you said, AI is going to do it instantly. And this is
Hmm.
the tightening of the feedback loop, where now you can get it almost like a short report, a little assistant that's going to say, this is the ad that worked best, but this is why it worked best. And here are
Hmm.
5 other variations on the hook that you can try. Here's 5 other bodies and 5 other CTAs that you can try, and maybe try sending it to this collection page if it has your Shopify data, because this one has a higher LTV, or this one has a better LTV through this cohort when you start by selling XYZ product. So I think that there's a lot that you can do on the creative side using AI to figure out your top performers and be able to scale into them by
Hmm.
getting new, basically by getting new versions, by getting new ideas based on what's working. And I know I'm jumping off here, but the only way that this is possible is by having clean data in your account, because you can't just export your Facebook ads data to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, let me know what worked." You're not this is You're going to get some generic results. But if you have really consistent naming mechanisms, and if you have your daily performance metrics added into a spreadsheet, you can take the naming mechanism as well as the performance metric of that specific creative, and then you can feed it into the system where you'll get that feedback loop. So it starts with clean data and
Hmm.
then ends with creative iterations on your best performing ads so they get better and better over time.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's where I don't want to say agencies miss, but that's where a lot of media buyers and teams have had to really scale in excellence is like making sure that they're and a lot of bigger brands have this down already. It's the smaller brands that are still learning these systems, but just making sure that you have clean naming conventions that like we like to make sure that the creative team is actually naming their file asset in the same format that is going into the ad account. So you should never have to rename an asset when you put it into the ad account, your ad name. It should be exactly consistent with what the creative team names it. So all of the parameters that you would have in there, what the video is, what the hook is, version number, date it was created, creator use, like all of the parameters that matter should be in the actual file name. And then when it goes to the ad account, it should be basically consistent. Maybe there's a couple other things that you add onto it as the media buyer, but really what you want to build for is so that a data analyst can query a data lake really easily, or machine learning can query that. I'm looking for concepts with a female model between 35 and 45, and that's already in the naming convention. So if they query that in the data lake, boom, here's all the ads that come up that have that, and here's how they performed. Here's ultimately you can go down that data trail and find opportunities. So I think it starts with naming, and then once you have that down, you can build systems around that extract insights or provide recommendations even based on ads they did previously.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're reiterating what people already know about AI, but in probably a more important way is that it comes down to the prompt. And in this case, the
Yeah.
prompt is a really well formatted Excel sheet with all of the documentation, all of the naming, and
Hmm.
then transcriptions of the ad copy broken up into chunks, which AI can help you do.
Yeah.
But that's the prompt. It's all of your naming conventions and all of the performance metrics added into a sheet, uploaded to your LM of choice to help you
Yeah.
dissect it and then come up with variations on the better performing creatives.
Exactly. And I think the other element is like thinking almost like script first production, which is it's always been the thing in direct response advertising, but oftentimes it depends on the category, right? If it's problem solution, that works really well. It's a little different with apparel, but there's still ways that you can craft a really strong ad by really looking at the script first and then using AI to analyze that script, figure out the pain points, figure out the psychology, overcome the barriers, and optimize it and see what scripts did really well. I know back in the day, folks were doing this. They weren't using AI, but they were writing a low cost version of their ad, and they would iterate on that script multiple times over with like stock footage, very low cost, just voiceovers, even starting with static images just to find the messaging that hit. And then they take all of these pieces of learnings and then they'd apply it until they went and did their big production shoot on the hero ad. But by the time they had that script locked in for that hero ad, it's like they did tons of testing in Meta on what angle, what concept, what script essentially was going to work the best. And then they go to full production with it. What's great is now you can do full production ready ads instantly. So you can just crank out high quality ads that can scale extremely quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And iterate faster and do it at a lower
Hmm.
cost. So you can get more volume in. Yeah. It's so important. It's so important. What do you think? This is two questions that are not on the docket today. What do you think is the importance on split between human produced creative versus AI produced creative? I have an opinion on this, but I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I still see AI produce as human produced in a lot of ways because there's an operator that has to go and form it. You have to make the decision. Is this? But when it comes to the actual like creative, like AI produced humans in ads, I think that has a long ways to go. I think you still need real people in advertising. So I don't know. I don't have a percentage. I'm probably still 80-20 in my opinion of human produced being the 80%.
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I heard of a possible algorithm shift on the organic side where you can toggle on or off as the user if you want to be subject to AI creative or if you don't. And I think that'll be really interesting. And I think that's
Wow.
where creative teams are going to get their legs back because I think a lot of production studios are feeling like, "Oh my goodness, we just got wiped out with AI."
Yeah.
Especially for really high quality, high production equipment.
Yeah.
That's definitely the case. You can look at the stocks
Yep.
of these companies that produce these big equipment. But yeah, I
Dude.
think it'll be interesting to see what this looks like on the user side because I bet you a lot of people will opt out if this becomes a reality, opt out of seeing AI generated content because of all the AI slop that's getting pushed out right now and it's just not that good yet.
Yeah, I think the social platforms are going to have to figure this out really quickly because they're going to see their user base just completely decline. I think, yeah, we're not dumb. People aren't dumb, and I think you can only go down a scroll cycle so long until you just realize, oh, I'm just looking at, is what I'm looking at even real anymore? So my thesis on this is that, and I say this a lot, like we've sat with brands that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on creative. And by creative ads, direct response, performance driven ads. And candidly, I'm like, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on ads that people don't even fundamentally want to see. There's one small percentage of a small percentage of people that are reacting with those ads, coming to your site, buying it. And they're reacting and buying it because you're spending millions of dollars to get those ads in front of those people at the right time. I think there's a much more cost-effective way to do it, which is instead of spending millions of dollars on buying the impressions through Meta, instead of spending millions of dollars on creating content that people don't want to see, just take a fraction of that budget and go apply it to finding the top creators that you can, the most go buy talent that you can bring in-house or contract to go and just create organic, good, human-generated content for your brand. I think there's other voices out there that are really going after organic social this year, and I think they're spot on. To, we don't need to invest money into ads that people don't want to see. If we just really make our focus on quality, engaging entertainment for organic social that ties back to our brand, I think that's the golden ticket, in my opinion. I told a client last month, I said, like, we were talking about January and spend and TikTok specifically. I said, don't spend on TikTok direct response. I'm like, even though that's what we manage, I'm like, don't take the budget and go hire organic content creators and focus on the view count that you're getting on your organic content. And then let's talk because then we'll have some solid momentum on the content side to actually be able to amplify with ads and run and get in front of the right people. But it's unless we get that first, unless we're talking to our consumer, unless people are seeing content that they are having a positive experience with next to your brand name on the handle, like there's nothing to talk about there until we get that because it's like
Yeah.
we're just pushing a message, we're pushing something that's like going to be extremely inefficient because we're competing with everybody else that's doing the exact same thing and spending millions of dollars on ads that really the end user doesn't want to see.
It's interesting because this was the conversation last year where we said the best performing ads often are going to be your hardest hitting organic creative. Now,
Yeah.
you're going to have these one off viral pieces that are just unrelated to the brand, that are like
Yeah.
memes, or they're not there. But a lot of times, if you're consistently having videos that are performing above and beyond, I know the metric, Mr. Beast has this cool software that's specifically for this to find these outliers. I think it's 7 times above your average is the number. That's going to
Oh,
work really well as an ad. But the only way you're going to find that is if you're posting a ton of content. And you don't
yeah.
necessarily need 10 pieces of content per day, but if you're putting out one or two really high quality pieces a day,
Mhm.
that's going to give you enough to figure out what's working. And it's also going to give you enough to have at least one that's going to hit every week. So you have something
Mhm.
new to put into the meta machine.
Exactly. Some of the favorite brands that I'm working with right now are really small, like what I see as future disruptive brands, and they have an organic social person. I've working with them, some friends with this person that's doing organic social, and he's a savant on creative. He's like Gen Z age. When TikTok first hit, he was making 40 videos a day on his own account to figure out exact specs, settings, content, like how it works. And now he does that for these brands that don't run any paid. He just goes, makes organic content, and then they bring me in when they're like, okay, it's organic's great. The problem with organic is it's not predictable. And so it's really hard to forecast, build a brand off of that. But hey, if you have that part down where you're actually getting good content, we can come put a paid ad system underneath that and get your predictable revenue and predictable growth over time. Just keep your content engine going, and we're going to use paid ads to supplement it with a baseline of predictability. And that's worked really well. We have brands that are these emerging brands that a lot of agencies wouldn't work with. The only reason they wouldn't work because they're too small. Like the reason we're working with them and these smaller budgets is because there's a ton of scalability here. And I'm sorry, Facebook 2018 still works if you get the content piece right. But the problem is a lot
100%.
of these
Yeah.
brands don't have the content side. So it's no, you're never going to scale because you don't have the content. And so that's where my focus is right now is like, all right, who's getting it from the like organic side? And then how can we support that and build a enterprise level system around that to be able to scale these brands and cut through the noise?
Yeah, that's it. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. And it makes paid so much easier, doesn't it? Your paid
It
is
really
just
does.
amplified when you have great organic and all systems are cohesive and everything's working together for the brand.
Yeah. Good combo, man. We'll have to keep
Yeah,
talking
this
about
is a great
this.
one. Yeah, thanks very much for jumping on and thanks for listening, everybody.